Welcome back, those of you who are returning. Just wait a little bit longer so everyone has a chance to return.
Hello.
So,
Hello.
so in our group, sorry, I'm Niluki. In our group, Chitrani was muted. We could not have a chat with her. I'm just asking the host to see why.
Ah, dear. What a shame. A missed opportunity to hear from Chitrani.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see she's still muted.
Yeah, I sent a message, no reply or anything.
Ah, sorry about that. So here you are. Would anyone be willing to share how that experience was, if there was a concept and a big idea that the group managed to agree on?
Yeah, Sugesh from our group will present the idea we came up with. Actually, he came up with, and we agreed, concurred with.
Yeah.
Hi, Kara.
Hi,
Sugesh here.
Ish.
How are you? So we come up with the concept of traveling and going places. And that's for stage 4, either year 7 or year 8. And we thought of our big question as, what language does it help someone to travel around Sri Lanka? Now, the idea was a rich task. We decided at the end was students to create a pocket dictionary for someone who would like to travel to Sri Lanka, using the necessary vocabulary, language, phrases, and or other things like common places, buying food, or going transport. So we can actually revise the vocabulary that they have acquired through other stages to create a pocket dictionary with phrases that someone, or they can be one of their friends who would like to visit to Sri Lanka. So the students get together and create a pocket dictionary.
Thank you, Sugesh. I love that you're building on their existing knowledge and you are thinking about what you want the students to create. I guess that could be the way that you assess what they have learned and what they know. And I'd love to spend a little bit more time around the big idea. So you mentioned that the question was, what language do students need to travel? Yep. Was that the question? Did I get it right? No, so not specifically Sri Lanka, or was it specific to Sri Lanka? What language does...
to specific to Sri Lanka. If someone is traveling in Sri Lanka.
So the way I understood the big idea was not, I'm just speaking on the word what. My understanding was that the phrase should be rephrased as how language would help or someone traveling in Sri Lanka. But...
yeah, so the big idea doesn't really have usually one answer. I'm imagining that to travel around Sri Lanka, knowing Sinhala would be the answer to getting around, and it sounds like the phrase book would be teaching Sinhala. But perhaps a big question could be something along the lines of, is language more than the spoken word? A question like that. So when traveling around Sri Lanka, what language? What language helps? What is language? So it would seem that the answer is Sinhala, but perhaps there's also the body language to know, cultural language to know, cultural sensitivities. So perhaps the big question is, what is language when we connect as we're traveling around Sri Lanka. So can you see that it's
Yeah.
sort of bigger than
Yeah.
the pocket dictionary? How do we connect with people as we travel around Sri Lanka?
That's correct. Yeah. And does that include pragmatics, like it particular to like that particular country? Because sometimes we use informal text, and some informal text in English might not be suitable when you actually say it in Sri Lanka. So what we discussed was, when you say please, but we don't necessarily say please. There is a particular word in Sinhalese for please, but we don't necessarily use that when we talk to people around Sri Lanka. That might seem odd, and then but when we speak, it actually expresses respect automatically, but it doesn't necessarily have to say please, something like that.
So that's the cultural, that's like understanding the cultural aspect of how you use the language when you're in Sri Lanka. So please, as an example, what we talk about is generally between Sri Lankans, if we had to use please, we are sort of showing that we are frustrated with the person. Yeah. So like if I talk to Sugish, for example, and I had to use Sugish, please listen to me, that means that I'm really frustrated with what he's doing, and I want to stress to him that I want him to speak. Otherwise, I don't use word please. We use another word called, ane, or it's a form of a facial and a verbal expression, the way you say it, and that expresses the word please. Otherwise, you don't use it. When you use it, Sri Lankans know that you are frustrated or you are angry.
Yeah, the word please is quite problematic across different languages potentially, isn't it? I know my daughter was on exchange in the Netherlands a couple of years ago learning Dutch, and she would say please and how are you, and it was very disconnecting. And then because of the way that they use please as well. And then of course, like I said, I teach Japanese, and there's about 5 different words for please, depending on what the context is. And if you use the wrong please, it can be very disconnecting. But if you use the correct please, then it's very connecting and very respectful. So yeah, there's some big questions here, isn't there, around what is our intention when we say please? Is it to connect, or is it, I think always our intention with language is to create connection, and yet the incorrect use of the language can be so disconnecting.
In Australia, that's the magic word.
It's so strange the way parents say to small children, what's the magic word? Yeah. You could do a whole lesson on please and the cultural meaning of please, couldn't you? Thank you, Sugish, for sharing, and to your group. That was very rich. I wonder if we could hear from one other group around what they found with the exploration of concept.
Vast majority of those cases, I can't stress enough, are close family or friends.
Shayami, I can see you are not muted. Is that because you want to say something?
Yes, we did talk about special events in Sri Lanka, and then especially the Aurudu, Sinhalese New Year, and this whole lesson of, so there are so many we can talk about. The food from the start, actually it's happened in April, from March itself, they get ready, cleaning houses, buying new clothes, and preparing sweets. So there are big things going on within that month. So a lot to talk about. And there are songs that we can teach them, poems about that, and our big N word is like the culture. It is about our culture.
I'm so glad I was able to go to the Sri Lankan New Year Festival this year.
Nice.
At Newcastle. So I have a sense of some of the things that you are talking about.
Oh.
It was so beautiful.
It is.
I'm thinking of a big question that right now when you're sharing something along the lines of why are new beginnings important to people?
That's nice.
Because when I hear about the cleaning and the preparation of food and then it's a new time.
New dresses.
Yeah. New dresses. So why are new beginnings so important to people? And you can see that that's a bigger question, but it's tied in very much to all of the different activities, and it might be referenced in some songs, maybe.
Yeah.
The idea of new beginnings. Why is this so important to humans? And making it more than just Sri Lankans helps the students to take that understanding beyond the community language school classroom and look at new beginnings in an Australian context, new beginnings in contexts of other countries. Really big idea, and it's really a lovely one for students to be made aware of, to carry with them. Thank you, Shayami.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who's itching to share something? Lokeshwari.
Lokeshwari, hi.
Lokeshwari.
I think I'm the only person who is connecting from Sri Lanka.
You're so welcome. We're so honored to have you here.
So I was thinking about an idea about routings, and the big idea was what are we doing during a day? And I'm thinking about a kindy student or kindy class. So if we are thinking what we are doing in a day, we can talk about natural items, sun and wind and things like that, and what they are doing. So like sun rising, wind blowing. So for kindy students, they can't write in Sinhala. So especially I think introducing vocabulary, a few nouns and a few simple verbs, present tense verbs must be the objective. So what we can use is poems and stories and songs, very simple songs, to teach them and to make them by heart the nouns and the verbs. And when they go home, actually throughout the week, they can remember those words because they see those things happening every day. And other than the natural items like sun and moon and stars, we can talk about the daily routine of people, including the student. So they get up, they brush their teeth, wash the face, dress new clothes, like that. And then we can move on to the sister and brother. Then we can move on to the parents and their teacher maybe. So like that, I mean, I was thinking about a very, maybe a vocabulary approach and making them by heart without writing them anywhere because they are very small kids. So that is one idea we were discussing in our group.
Yeah, I think in terms of the way you are thinking about who are my students and what are their capabilities, before you choose what you do is really important. You're not just bringing in some great idea that's not relevant to the ability of your student and what they're capable of. And I'm also wondering about when you first were talking about the natural things that the students see around them and talking about the sun and the wind and the movement of the trees. A big question that we could just introduce, just share with the students is, why are these things so important to us? How do these things make us feel, and why are they so important to us? And then when the student sees the tree moving, the wind blowing, the sun rising, they're thinking about the language that you've given them, and they're thinking about these things through Sinhala. And then maybe also they can hold in their heart, and why are these things important to me? And why do I care about these things? And why are these things worth seeing and worth knowing and worth noticing? And you can see how that makes it a bit deeper. It becomes more than just the words that we see and the verbs that we know. It's our connection to this life that we are learning to think of through Sinhala. How does that sound to you?
Hi, Kara. This is Diana.
Hi, Diana.
I'm sorry that my camera is not working at the moment. You can't see me.
No worries. It's lovely to hear your voice.
I would like to bring up then how to teach the alphabet, the Sinhala alphabet, effectively to the children. I'm teaching level 1 students in our school. Then my first focus is then how importance of the alphabet to our children. Then I'm introducing to them then what is the importance of the alphabet we have to learn. And I created a alphabet for themselves because they like to see some difference in the alphabet, and they like to learning something with the songs and singing. Then I build up to teach the alphabet, singing alphabet, and the seeing alphabet, and the pronouncing alphabet. Then I would like to share what I created for them. Is it okay?
When you say, is it okay, you want to share something now with the whole group?
Yeah.
Well, yes, I'm just conscious that it's already 12 past 11. And there's some other things that I want to share before 11:30. So I wonder if I can just reflect a little bit on what you shared already, and we can move on, and maybe you can share the other things later. Daniela, would that be okay if she shares?
Yeah, that's okay.
When you stay back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm teaching.
Diana, I really, I was imagining how you are teaching the script when you were sharing just now, and it sounded so inviting and so enjoyable and so inspiring. And I was imagining how I would love to be in your class, approaching learning the text, learning the script that way. It was really inviting. And I also was thinking about a bigger question that you could pose to the students, and that is, why do humans write things down? And this could tie back to that cross-curricular priority of the Indigenous language and culture in Australia. And Aboriginal people have been writing things down through pictures for tens of thousands of years. There's sacred caves where stories were written down in their way. And here we are learning the script of our people, and it's different again. And different groups have evolved different ways of capturing their story and writing things down. And it's such an important part of being a human, to write things down. Why is that so important to us as people? Why is it so important that we have a way to capture our story and our activities and write things down? And there you can just let that question sit with the students as you do your songs and as you bring in the text, and you're inviting them into this deeper way of thinking about learning the script and learning how to write things down, and connecting them with the fact that people have done this for so long. People have gone to great lengths to write things down. Why have we always done that? Why is that so important to us? Can you see, Diana, how there's that extra element to this deeper approach to teaching script? The teaching of the script is so important. And why? I hope that resonates with you. And I want to just go back to sharing my presentation now, if that's okay, and skip through a few more important things for the last 15 minutes. Let's see if I can get this going. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be sharing the right screen here. You can give me some feedback, Danila. How is that? Is that what we want to be seeing? Am I sharing?
No, no, the other screen. You should share the other screen.
Share the other screen?
Yeah.
Damn. Is that better? Is that the same?
It's the same.
Ah. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to skip through here. And here is the first example of a template that I've shared with you. And this is a template for writing a unit of work that was developed by some people who have really focused on this deeper learning. So using concepts and then coming up with a big idea. And you can see that there's a box here for you to write down the big idea that you want to share with the students. So over here, the concept might be writing things down. And the essential question is, why do people write things down? And the students will understand that it's really important to be able to express ourselves, to be able to communicate through writing. Students will know certain script in Sinhala. Students will be skilled at, and then the particular script that you want them to learn. And then the next step is the evidence or assessment. So how am I going to know that the students are learning from what I'm sharing with them? So the students can write, and you might put certain script that you want them to be able to write. And then the performance task is that perhaps at the end of this unit, the students are going to create an art show where we have different parts of the script written as artwork and displayed around the classroom. And then other evidence we'll do worksheets, we'll have mini whiteboards, and I'll ask them to write things down and hold them up for me in class. Other ways that you're going to measure their understanding and their learning along the way, or I will sing them a verse and they will sing it back to me. That's another example of evidence of learning that you could use. And then down here will be the activities, the tasks, the instruction, the details of what you'll do lesson by lesson in this unit of work. So you can see I like this template because it starts with very clearly up here the concept, the big ideas, the understandings, what they'll know, what they'll be skilled at, how you'll measure their learning, and then you go into the details. So it's very much that backwards planning that I was talking about, starting with the end goal. And then here's the template from NESA, which the Sinhalese Cultural Forum have used to start creating units of work, beautiful units of work. And in this case, there's a unit overview section where you can put the concepts and the big ideas, and it's got a bit more detail about the unit title, how long it will go for, and then outcomes, resources, and then the content, the teacher and student content. So what you want your students to do at the end of the unit is what you're thinking about, the backward planning, beginning with the concept, then the overarching big idea, then what you want them to know and be able to do, how you'll measure their understanding and their competence, and then what resources do I have? You know, traditionally we just started with the resource. Oh, I've got this textbook, so this is what I'm going to do. But you can see you do all these steps before you come to what resources do I have? And then you go to the textbook and find the parts in the textbook that are the answer to the concepts, the big ideas, and what you have identified you want students to be able to do in the class. And then finally, who are my students? Do I need to make some adaptations here for students with special needs or students with prior learning? This is at this point I start thinking about differentiation, so making some special plans for particular students in my class. So this is an example of my beginning to plan out a unit of work. I started with the concept of festivals and beliefs. And my big idea is, do festivals keep old culture and old beliefs alive? And I'm coming at this as a teacher of Japanese, and I'm thinking about teaching a unit of work around the Obon festival, which is the festival where the spirits of people who have died come back to visit. So there's a lot of history and there's a lot of belief. And I'm inviting the students to think about, does this festival, this Obon festival, keep these old beliefs alive? Because a lot of young people might not really think very much about these old beliefs of spirits, of people past coming back to visit us in this world. They might not really think about that in their day-to-day life, but then this festival happens and we all have a holiday and we all have little rituals where we light candles and put them in little boats on bodies of water. And does that keep these old beliefs alive in our culture? This is the question I want us to be thinking about as we explore Obon. And then there'll be language around this, there'll be vocabulary, there'll be grammar. I was thinking about conditionals. So when X happens, Y results. When Obon happens, the spirits return. When my grandmother who's died comes back, I can feel her presence. So these conditionals. And then what I want them to be able to do is I want them to be able to talk about Obon and ask questions about Obon and think about the beliefs and if they resonate with them. Do these beliefs feel relevant and true to a Japanese person living in Australia or to an Australian person? And then compare what Obon says with what Easter says about spirits of people past. So that's just a bit of me sharing how I would go about beginning to plan for a unit of work, starting with this concept, then thinking of a big idea, and then thinking about what I want the students to know and what I want them to be able to do. Then I go to how will I measure their understanding? So this is what I've come up with. I would like to have a craft and a video. So I'm going to get the students to make a little boat with a candle in it and float the boat on the candle. And then I'm going to give them the option of working in pairs or groups of threes or else working alone, because some students just really hate group work. And they're going to create a dialogue, a question and answer about Obon and record that dialogue. Or for the solo task, the student's going to do an artwork and they're going to narrate having question and answer about Obon as depicted in their art. And then the other evidence I've thought about here, what are other ways I'm going to assess their learning throughout the unit? I'll have vocabulary worksheets, mini whiteboards, Google Classroom quizzes, Google Classroom forum, and short writing tasks, and then drafts of this final dialogue. And so then I go back and look at this that I shared with you earlier and think, is this a balanced unit of work? Have I got both strands going on here? Have I got the different objectives addressed in what I'm doing? Or is something missing? And then I think about my resources that I've got to use for this, the textbooks, some YouTube, parent guest speakers, my priest friend in Japan, Google Classroom forum and quizzes. And then I go on and start thinking about lesson plans. I'm going very fast here because I'm conscious that I'm running out of time, and I want to, yeah, let's do this. What's the most challenging part of curriculum design for you? So as we're coming to the end here, we have spent a bit of time looking at starting with a concept, a big idea. I really enjoyed our sharing before when I was hearing from some of you and having some discussion. So I'm just curious, and then I've whizzed through how you can use the unit of work for your planning, that template, and then you can refer to the syllabus to check if you've got some balance in your plan or if there's something that you've missed. So now that you've got this, what's really challenging for you? Is it coming up with the big idea, coming up with the activities and the tasks, planning how you'll assess their understanding, identifying what you want them to know and do, or choosing the concept? Yeah. Oh, I've only heard from 9 people, but so far coming up with the related big idea is the challenging one. So this might be something that's really valuable to collaborate on, to share, toss the idea around. What could the big idea be here? Really use the resources that you have. It might be interesting too for us to check in down the track and see how you're going with coming up with big ideas, and maybe we could just have a little half-an-hour Q&A where we talk about some of your concepts and big ideas and how you've been going with that.
One reason for the less number of responses could be because some of us are not linked to the Slido.
Okay, yeah. And are you linked now?
No, I'm not. I didn't copy that link earlier. So
can you see on the side there how it says that you can join at slido.com?
Yeah, got that one now. I think, yep.
This is good feedback for me. I'm wondering if I could have explained it differently so that you would be more aware of how to join so that you could participate.
No, that's all right. We got the link shared now. So.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your feedback. I'm just going to move on to a couple more things so that we've got a few minutes at the end. There's the lovely unit of work sample for your language. And then I mentioned earlier how there's some new syllabuses, and there's some great examples there of scope and sequence and units of work that you can have a look at just for inspiration. Let's skip that. So a recap of our 2 sessions. Here we are. And I will share these slides with you so you can take your time and go back and have a look through these things. Okay, so how would you now rate your understanding of 21st century curriculum design? I'd be interested to get your feedback on this. Really interesting for me to see if things have shifted at all for the majority of the group, or if there's still work to be done. This is a really important part of ongoing assessment and checking for understanding, that this kind of feedback may tell me, oh, we're not quite there yet. We need to do some more work. You need some more support. Maybe you need to hear something in a different way to help you to understand better. Maybe you need to go away and practice and come back and get some feedback. So this kind of ongoing assessment, checking for understanding, is really important to my curriculum design, my ongoing curriculum design. So really important for you to get this feedback from your students as well, to inform how you move forward with your teaching, if you need to reteach, or if you need to go faster, if you need to go slower. So thank you for filling that in. The Q&A. Latest question, do pragmatics come under the role of language and culture? Actually, I'm going to skip through this and, there we go. It's 11:30 already. So I'll wrap it up there, but I just wanted to also mention to you that with COVID happening and things going into hard lockdown where you are in Sydney, Greater Sydney, things are pretty tough. So I'm keen to offer some extra support and to offer something that might lift the spirits of the volunteers in the Community Languages Schools program. So I'm going to do a little series of teaching techniques, just 45-minute sessions that are going to be pretty quick and hopefully fun and very interactive, and using Slido like we've done here, and address just some little points around teaching that can give you something to think about in lockdown and maybe try out if you're doing online teaching, as the department's directed schools in Greater Sydney to do. So you can go to my website there to get the details. Next week is going to be checking for understanding, is going to be the topic. How do we check in with students to measure their understanding as we're going along? So it's, like I said, really important feedback. So it'd be lovely to see some of you there. I'm offering the same thing at 3 different times. It won't be recorded, but it'll be at 3 different times to try and make it accessible for as many people as possible. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your efforts with Community Language School education. Thank you for caring about passing on your beautiful language and culture to children who are living and growing up here in Australia. The work that you do is so important to their identity and their cultural and linguistic diversity, and it's really, really valued. And thank you for being here this morning.
Excuse me, Cara, I have a very little last question. Can I
Sure.
ask?
Go ahead.
I want to know what kind of approach does NESA have towards syllabus preparation, textbook preparation, and teacher's guide preparation? Do they come together, or it's only syllabus preparation?
Well, they offer professional learning around those questions, but really, no, it's mostly, to my understanding, it's mostly syllabus and school, monitoring the syllabus, monitoring the school and the teacher standards. But if you wanted to develop a textbook, for example, I don't think they would get involved in that. They would want you to look to the syllabus and to the teaching standards and to be informed by those. But does that answer your question?
Thank you very much.
Feel free to send me an email if you have more questions, Lokeshwan, and you're welcome to join our online sessions as well. It's lovely to have you.
Cara, thank you very much for sharing all this with us. Quick feedback to all the other participants. Thank you very much joining. Can we wait another 10-15 minutes? Project team would like to give a quick update about what we have done so far and where the teachers can help for us to continue this process. Of course, like SCF like to involve all the schools in here. So if you can please wait another 10-15 minutes. So
Dilina, can I please have 1 minute?
yes.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to, on behalf of the SCF, I want to thank everyone who participated at this workshop today. So I know Saturday morning is the time that you spend your quality time with your families. And although we are in lockdown, this is very important for all of you. So thank you for joining in, and also SLTP project team for organizing this important session with Kara Matheson. So Kara, thank you for finding time out of your busy schedule to join in with us and share your knowledge and expertise. So it has been a great session. I wish you all a safe weekend and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you, everyone. So this is my opportunity to say goodbye. Is it, Dilina? And you'll just stay on and talk amongst yourselves?
You are welcome to stay, Kara, but otherwise, I mean, probably we might continue Sinhala as well.
Okay, yes, no, I'll leave you to your Sinhala. Thank you.
Otherwise, thank you very much. Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everybody.
Bye.
Kara.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.